Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports for a recap of free agency so far, specifically taking a look at what the Toronto Raptors have done so far with their free agency, but more so in terms of this stream, we're going to be looking at what the Raptors have not done with their free agency thus far. There really isn't just much of anything the Raptors have done. They've only made one move in an offseason where we really expected kind of a few things to go down. I wouldn't say like a ton of moves. I wouldn't say that's what we are expecting here, but certainly something to supplement this team. Something to bolster the roster. It's clear that the team wasn't good last season. It's clear that it needed a bit of depth added in, and the Raptors just haven't done really anything of significance. So over the course of the stream today, along with having conversations, answering questions from the chat from you guys, we'll be trying to decipher why nothing has happened for the team, what the options are presently on July 2nd here at the time of the live stream, and potentially what the Raptors could look like for next season. So it's a complicated situation, but we'll try to break down as much as we can. If you enjoy this live stream along the way, we'll be going for about an hour here or so, depending on how much we have. Make sure you do hit that like button, and for more Toronto Raptors content, make sure you do subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports. What's going on to everybody in the chat? I can already see in the early stage of the stream some frustration coming from the chat as to what the Toronto Raptors have not done so far with their free agency. But we do have Mohammed in chat, Mohammed Lays. We have Kobe, CJ Brown, Blazer Films, Sumaya, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, Morgan Fay, Peter P, Jordan Misfit, one of our stream OGs, also joining in. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. So, yeah, we're live for the start of free agency, Sunday, June 30th at 6 p.m., right at the start of NBA free agency. And nothing really happened. I mean, usually those streams are insane. Like within 30 minutes, like it's just so difficult to keep up with everything. But it's been very easy to keep up with things. You know, sometimes I'll be off my phone for like 6 hours. I'll go back on my phone and there won't be any new signings. That's what's happened the last couple of days. Whereas like that's unheard of for free agency. Like yesterday I was out with my girlfriend's family and I didn't check my phone for a while. And I go back to check to see what I missed and I didn't miss anything. It's just been so slow. Likely down to, first of all, I think it's the second apron kicking in, which is making it more difficult for teams to make moves. So it's a bit more of a chess match with these free agents than it has been previously. And on top of that, I think the NBA is starting to crack down a little bit more on tampering, and teams are a bit fearful of that. So we end up in this situation for a lot of teams are inactive, and in particular, the Toronto Raptors have been incredibly inactive in this period here. Key outgoing free agent is Garrett Temple Jr. He's still without a contract. It's undetermined whether the Raptors are trying to make a push to bring him back. Key potential trades for the Raptors, I suppose. Bruce Brown remains a trade piece. He was brought back on the team option for this season, worth $23 million. That was the right move for the team. He has to be on your team in order to trade him, so they kept him so that they could use him in a trade. And Chris Boucher's contract of around $11 million still remains on the table for a possible trade. That being said, the current situation is not great financially. I don't believe the Raptors quite have enough room for the mid-level exception. So I think they're in around $12, $13 million of cap space. This is not a lot of money to work with overall, so they need to be pretty calculated about what they do with their finances. The key areas of note for me, I think there's just one here. Finding that big wing defender is going to be difficult. This team really needs a backup center, first and foremost. If we're going to talk about exactly what the Raptors need out of free agency, because we know the cap situation is difficult. We know they need to add on some depth. They can't add everything. One thing they do need out of this offseason is a backup center who can protect the rim. 100% they need to address that. Reading over the cap situation again, here's kind of where we stand here. I found a good tweet to kind of explain it. Ultimately, with the Raptors, two trade pieces. Bruce Brown, $23 million contract. Chris Boucher, about $11 million contract. Leaves us right around $13 million before we hit the luxury tax threshold, before you even try to convince yourself, no, the Toronto Raptors will not be a tax team. They're not even close to contending. You should only be paying the luxury tax if you are a contending team. So just forget about that. That ain't going to happen. So the Raptors have to be pretty calculated here. And one of the big holdups so far with this whole situation is Bruce Brown's contract, I think. I think it was right for the Raptors to bring back Bruce Brown in the team option. As I mentioned, you have to have the player on your roster in order to be able to trade him. You can't trade him if he doesn't play for your team. He's not under contract. So the Raptors took on his team option, $23 million, to use him as a trade chip and to see what was out there as far as a trade is concerned. Now, let's just start off by saying, what is the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is the Raptors can't trade him and they have one season of Bruce Brown. That's not that bad. What if Bruce Brown was a free agent coming into free agency and the Raptors had made no moves and then they signed Bruce Brown for a season? You'd probably be pretty pumped to sign a player like Bruce Brown, even for a season, because he's a good basketball player. But there's this real irrational hate surrounding Bruce Brown for some reason. Obviously, it's holding up, I think, the free agency for the Raptors, but there's a very irrational hate towards Bruce Brown, despite the fact that he is a good basketball player and kind of fits a sort of role as a switchable player that the Raptors could use for this season and some additional ball handling that they could use for this season. I just think he's a good player. Now, last season, granted, when he joined the Raptors, he wasn't up to snuff into what the expectations were. Struggled a little bit. Honestly, you can't blame him completely given how horrible the situation was for Toronto on court. The tanking, all the injuries they were dealing with. Plus, Bruce Brown, look, take it for what it is. He did mention that he was dealing with some injuries near the end of the season. But overall, Bruce Brown's a great player. You talk about this a year ago. Imagine a year ago saying Bruce Brown will be on the Raptors at the start of this season. That would be pretty exciting, I think, for some people. But as it is, people want him traded. And I think what the holdup is, if the Raptors can trade him, they're looking to open up additional cap space in order to make a move. I guess part of the problem is, if they're waiting to make a move here, a trade with Bruce Brown before signing a player, the difficulties there is that, well, a lot of guys are coming off the board from free agent standpoint. But on the other hand, it's the Toronto Raptors. Were they really going to be in play for a lot of these free agents anyways? The likely answer is, unfortunately, realistically to ourselves, the likely answer to that question is no. So as much as the Bruce Brown situation is maybe hampering things a little bit overall for the Raptors, I don't think all the blame should really be going to Bruce Brown here. And honestly, it's not Bruce Brown's fault if he hasn't been traded either. The front office, if they really wanted to bring in stuff and they're trying to rush things here, they got to make a deal happen. They got to get some sort of trade in place here overall for Bruce Brown, or else, perhaps the free agency period could pass us by. But going back to what I said, at the start of this little segment here, what the Raptors do need is a backup center who can defend the rim. I think when you look at what happened last season, a lot of where this season went wrong was when Jakob Poeltl got injured and the team completely fell off a cliff. Just an abysmal record. Only 2 wins out of haven't they over 20 games without Jakob Poeltl last season? Only 2 wins. Just disgusting statistics. It's very clear that the Raptors need to bring in a backup center who can protect the rim. Kelly Olynyk's fine and dandy. He's a great player, of course, but you need to bring in a center who can protect the rim. I think it helps the team with the defense when Jakob Poeltl's injured, but I think in particular, you're bringing in a lot of young players this season. The Raptors, another part of the cap constraints right now, is the fact that they drafted 4 players. They need to pay all 4 of those players: Jacoby Walter, Jonathan Mobo, Jamal Shed, and Ulrich Shamshay. They got to pay all 4 of these guys. But if they actually want to use Jacoby Walter in a lot of settings, what's going to help with their development, especially Walter, who we're trying to help develop defensively, is having a center who knows what they're doing on defense, protecting the rim. With all due respect to Kelly Olynyk, he's not a rim protector. We know he's not. He'll say he's not that. So you're just making it a lot more difficult for the guys in the team who are trying to develop, like Grady Dick, like the now on the team Jacoby Walter. Davion Mitchell's job becomes a whole lot easier as a point of attack defender in the bench units with a rim protecting player at center. And we just don't have that. So I think it's unfair to those guys coming off the bench to have to deal with not having that sort of player. But the reality is, as far as what was out there, a lot of it is gone. This should have been a priority for the Raptors. A player like Goga Bitadze would have been interesting, certainly. A player like, Slim Pickens, honestly. Is DeAndre Jordan a cheap deal? That horrendous. Is Mason Plumlee on a cheap deal? That horrendous. Mo Bamba, is that a horrendous sort of signing to make? I don't think so. I absolutely do not think so. But all these players have passed us by, and maybe it's a tough sell. Are you really the backup center, or are you the third center? Because Kelly Olynyk's the backup center. I think that this player needs to be in rotation. So you look at the guys currently on the board. Tristan Thompson can still do a bit of a job there, I think. He can rebound. I think he can protect the rim. I think he would be okay playing in Toronto, and he's cheap. You could look at a player like maybe, probably not, it's not ideal at all, but maybe JaVale McGee. But, maybe Bismack Biyombo as well. But what I'm saying is, God, Malik Williams, Jesus. What I'm saying is slim pickings. It's definitely slim pickings out here in the center department. So Raptors, unless they can get this sort of player in the Bruce Brown trade, it's probably not a player that's going to be forthcoming to them. And I think that's going to be a big miss going into the season. And I think we will look back on this free agency period like it was a big miss, not getting a player like that who can seriously help the Raptors in that position. Because if you're working on developing a young team, especially on defense, for the Raptors struggled so much last season, you need to give them the platform to be successful defensively, and having that rim protector is just going to make their lives so much easier and give them so much more of a platform to develop, give them so much more of a platform to develop going forward. So I think that was, God damn it, my dog. 1 second. Sorry about that. Jesus Christ, the dog. Strategically for the Raptors, that's a big miss. And that is certainly a player that they should have prioritized bringing in. I don't know what kind of sell. You have to give a guy to choose your team. A lot of teams are looking for rim-protecting bigs, so for the Raptors, maybe it's proven to be a bit difficult. I see in the chat here, there's a mention of Jonas Valanciunas as a possible option. Just signed a $10 million per year contract. Kind of the anti of what the Raptors need. They need rim protection. So, as much as there's a lot of centers maybe that were available, it doesn't make sense at all to go for a center who can't really protect the rim. That doesn't solve the problem that the Toronto Raptors are currently facing. You look at the guys that they drafted, Jonathan Mobo out the gate. I don't have confidence in him to get regular minutes as a rim protector. Maybe he can get in the rotation, but certainly not going to be that rim protecting sort of player the Raptors are looking for. At least it doesn't appear that way. I just don't think he has the size to be able to do that in that position. They drafted over Shamshay, but he's a completely raw prospect who is not going to fit the bill there. So I don't know what the plan is for the Raptors. I don't know if they're waiting on Bruce Brown on a trade there. I don't know what's going on here, but the lack of action certainly is a little bit frustrating. They did address, there was some key needs. There was 2 key needs, I think, in the offseason. One of them was getting a backup point guard. They traded for one in Davion Mitchell, and maybe Jamal Shed can step into a bit of a role there. But they have not addressed the center position, which I think will be a bigger problem than some people think. As far as the defense is concerned, as far as the development of some of these younger guys is concerned as well. Should have been something that was addressed 100%, and it's annoying that it wasn't addressed. A guy like Dwight Howard, 5-year, $100 million, that's not gonna cut it. Is Dwight Howard officially retired yet or what? Dwight Howard he's playing in Taiwan. All right, he's still playing. Hey, shout out to him. He's playing professional basketball. He's still hooping. But yeah, not NBA caliber probably at this point. We aren't bad enough to fully tank. We aren't good enough to be a top 6 seed. Dare to go there. Honestly, I won't go as far as say we aren't bad enough to tank. This team might be in a position where they can look at the draft for sure. I'm going to be honest. I don't think there's going to be a smooth sailing season by any means, especially if some of these areas are not addressed, So I don't really care about the experienced guys. I just think there's certain positional archetypes that are missing from this team. You know what I mean? Kobe says, if we somehow end up re-signing Bruce Brown, I'm officially done. Well, you're done because they did officially bring him back for a season. Officially, the Raptors accepted, I guess, his team option. So they did take his contract. There you go. Great backstory, Kevon Lee. Well, Kevon Lee didn't look like that last year, I got to say. Is Kevon Looney free agent? I don't think so. You'd have to trade for him. I guess the Warriors would probably be willing to get off his contract. Yeah, he's got 1 year left on his deal, Kevon Looney. $8 million. Hey, do they want Chris Boucher? They want Chris Boucher, maybe. Kevon Looney didn't look great last year. Go look at Todd's. They would have been a nice pickup, but I think he's got quite a sizable role in Orlando. So I think his role is bigger there, and they're a good team. So kind of a shame, but I don't think that's going to work out there. What do I think about Gary Trent Jr.? Now, that's a doozy. We're going to get into Gary Trent Jr. in just a sec. Can we trade for Wendell Carter? I don't think so. Wendell Carter's very good. He's going to start for the Orlando Magic. I'd be very surprised if they'd part with him. Timeline really limits activity for UFA. I don't know about that. I mean, I think it's just part of the team is kind of not good. That's what's hampering it. If you mean that, if that's what you mean by timeline, then I agree. But the lack of quality on the team overall makes it a bit harder in an already difficult market to attract free agents towards. Golden State in the Lauri Markkanen sweepstakes. I think that'd be a big pickup. I really like Lauri Markkanen. Should Raps get active in prying Looney? Yeah, I think if the Boucher contract kind of works there, I don't know how keen they would be on trading Kevon Looney, but as a backup big, yeah, that'd be certainly an interesting one to look at for a season. I think it's really important to address that position. Honestly, Boucher doesn't fit that mold. Absolutely not. I really like Wendell Carter, but there's no way. He's very good. When's the last day of free agency? Never ends, really. If a guy's a free agent, I guess you got to sign a guy. If you're in the playoffs, you got to sign a guy by March, mid-March to be playoff eligible. But if you're a free agent, you can just sign anytime. You should probably sort your team out before your training camp begins, because then you can actually use the guy. But yeah, if a guy's a free agent, you can just sign him whenever you feel like it. Would you consider Zach LaVine? I don't really have to look at the trade. I'd say no. Brown, Boucher, Nabaji. Well, I mean, if you're trading peanuts, I mean, I'd maybe look at it, but I personally don't really rate Zach LaVine, and that contract is brutal. I don't think that's the answer. I don't think that's the answer. That's a short term. That's like putting duct tape over a leak. It's going to stop most of the leak, but then eventually it's going to start gushing out of there again. It's not going to solve it. You know what I mean? I think that was a really good analogy, actually, for Zach LaVine. The idea of Zach LaVine is better than actual Zach LaVine. All right. We do need to add stuff. One player is interesting. This situation has gotten completely out of hand. I have been toying with Gary Trent's possible free agent market for a long time now. And I was always scared of undervaluing him too far because he's coming off a contract where he's making $18 million. There were talks of him getting mid to low $20 million per year contracts last summer. So I've always been scared of actually truly evaluating Gary Trent honestly. But even in my most pessimistic view from Gary Trent's perspective as to what his next contract might look like, his market right now is way lower than even those lowest of expectations, and it's looking bad for him. So one of the key free agents for the Raptors right now is Garrett Trent Jr., and there's questions about Garrett Trent Jr., if the Raptors can keep him, if he's going to return to the team. And it appeared as though originally the Raptors just would not have the space to make it happen. As we've talked about, with the rookies coming in, with the contract going to Emmanuel quickly, it's becoming very difficult to get any free agents, even the ones you're bringing back like Gary Trent Jr., especially because I was considering the market having been set by other shooting guards, like potentially Malik Monk. Malik Monk signed a 4-year, $78 million contract. Gary Trent's not as good as Malik Monk, but that's sort of setting the table for what a player like Trent maybe could make. Maybe in the range of $16, $17, $18 million per year for Gary Trent. That's kind of where I thought his value would be. I even thought, like, look, our team's going to maybe think, here's a guy who's amazing off of wide open threes. He shot 52% on wide open threes last season, but, like 27% on all other threes. But if you're a good team that can get him open, he's going to knock down threes. Now, I can't do anything else. He's horrible at the rim. He's horrible in transition other than shooting open threes in transition. He's a negative defender, but he can hit threes, and that's valuable at the NBA. Would that be enough for a team to give him a short-term deal on $20 million per year? I thought maybe it'd be worth it at some point just to keep Gary Trent, to retain that asset, and that's a tradable contract. But like I said, the situation for Gary Trent has gotten even worse than I would have expected here. Michael Grange of Sportsnet put out a column, if you will, discussing what Gary Trent Jr.'s got a subscriber. Dave Snow, thank you so much for subscribing. Welcome to the Amateur Hour Army. You subscribe yourself to so much great Raptors content. I really appreciate that. But within this article, there's a discussion about what Gary Trent Jr.'s value is at this point, what the market currently stands, how the market currently stands for Gary Trent Jr. at this point in free agency. And I took a little piece from the article which highlighted what you really need to know. He would seem like an enticing commodity, 25 years old, by the way. That's the same age as Emmanuel Quickley, who is deemed to be a young piece of this growing core. Gary Trent is not. He shot nearly 39% from three on high volume last season. Like I said, 52% on wide open threes. When he's not open, he's horrible. But he's wide open, he'll make them. And he's the best in the league at making those wide open ones. But that market of $18.6 million does not exist. And there is apparently real doubt that Trent will even be offered a deal for the mid-level exception. So there's doubt he'll even be offered a deal in the range of $12.5 million. Gary Trent's value has plummeted, fallen off the face of the earth. And when he signed with the Raptors 3 years ago, it was a 2+1. 2 years plus one on a player option. My expectation was he's thinking at the end of those 2 years, I'm going to be worth more than this contract. So in 2 years, I'll take my big contract. That didn't materialize. So last season, he takes his player option. And when he took his player option, that in my mind was Gary Trent Jr. betting on himself to enhance his value this season and get a big contract right now. That didn't work out. He kind of bet on himself and he lost. And now the market out there is very slim. So I think Gary Trent at this point, you're recording this July 2nd, 7:26 p.m. Eastern time. I think Gary Trent's really struggling with the market here. And I think what he's going to do is going to get another short-term option, a short-term contract. I don't think he's going to go long-term here. I think he's going to be eyeing the same sort of contract, 2+1, where, okay, now I've really got to put up and earn that big contract. And he still believes in himself to be able to do that. Because look, shooting is a necessary part of the game. He can shoot. There's no question he can shoot. And if he learns to play a little bit of defense, that'll be valuable, even if he can't do anything other than shoot on wide open threes. There's still value in being able to do that. But at this present point for the Raptors, shooting is a necessary part of this team that's lacking. You just signed Scotty Barnes to a monster contract. What you're going to do to get the most out of Scotty Barnes is put shooting around him. Gary Trent, at the very least, can shoot. Now, if he comes back next season, I really don't want him to start over Grady Dick anymore. I think Grady Dick offers more, and I would be more focused on developing Grady Dick than developing Gary Trent. So I was resigned to the fact that, hey, we're going to lose Gary Trent in the offseason. It is what it is. It's kind of a shame. You look back 3.5 years ago, we traded Norman Powell for 3.5 years of Gary Trent, and all we got out of it was a player who was not as good as Norman Powell, who wasn't even that much cheaper than Norman Powell. The Raptors 3.5 seasons ago decided, let's get a guy who's probably going to be cheaper and has development trajectory. It just didn't work out. Gary Trent never really got better, never really developed. If anything, he's regressed a lot this season. So in hindsight's 2020, unfortunate trade. At the time, it made sense to go for a player like this. Again, it hasn't worked out, but he seems to like it in Toronto. So even though I was resigned to the fact that, yeah, he's probably going to be gone at this point, look, if Gary Trent's market is $10 million a season, and that's not the worst thing you can do is free agency. That might make sense. Will he take a 2-year, $22 million contract? Because, if so, that's kind of just worth bringing back to the team and continuing to use. The Raptors could be just completely against it, thinking, we we don't have a lot of space, and we'd rather not use our space on Trent. We just don't think he offers much. I think Gary Trent's a very frustrating player because of the lack of development in his prime developing years from the age of 22 to 25. Like, he's just the same player. He's the same player who other than other than open threes and being inefficient on contested mid-range shots, he just doesn't do anything on offense. He can't get to the rim. He's horrible at finishing at the rim in transition. So, it's a complicated spot for both parties here, for Trent and the Raptors. Trent's value, even in my most pessimistic view, it's even lower than that. It's even lower than my most pessimistic prediction about what Gary Trent's value will be. So for the Raptors, maybe at this point it is worth it taking a stab and bringing him back. But it was probably a rude awakening for Gary Trent. So maybe you bring him back. Maybe he comes in next season. Maybe he's hungry to prove the doubters wrong. Maybe he's hungry to earn that next big contract. But yeah, it's scary hours in the Gary Trent Jr. camp, represented by Clutch Sports. I mean, they'll try to finesse and fleece and get every penny out of his value, but I just don't know what sort of market is out there for him at this present point. You gotta be able to do something other than shoot. A lot of guys can shoot. They gotta be able to do something else, and Gary Trent kind of fits that category where it's like, okay, what else are you gonna do for our team? Maybe Darko doesn't want that with the team. Maybe the Raptors can invest elsewhere. Who knows? But the reality is, this is a brutal situation. The Raptors are in a brutal situation, but perhaps Gary Trent situation is even more so. So, hey, get him back on a short-term deal for cheap, if you can. Maybe let him prove his worth and take it from there. That's what I'd do. It's brutal, man. It's a brutal. It just hasn't worked out for Trent, man. But it is frustrating that he hasn't developed, and he's a frustrating player to watch because it just feels like he could be. It just feels like he could be so much better than he is. We're talking about KD. Enough of this KD stuff. KD for Bruce Brown, Boucher, and Jakob. I don't think Phoenix would. I don't think Phoenix would take that. They traded like 4 picks to Mikal Bridges. I don't think Pirtle, Boucher, and Bruce Brown gets that done. Honestly, Gary Trent will probably sign for contender. If he does, it'll be like for a min. Like, I remember Malik Monk signed for the Lakers on a min to try and prove his worth. Eventually, he did, and look at him. He got his big contract now. Took him taking a smaller contract with the Kings to do it, but yeah, he might go hunting for a min to prove his worth. It's just, you got to be able to play defense. But you do have to trade Bruce Brown before you probably make a decision there. You got to open something up, Sign and trade Garrett Temple for Cam Reddish. That doesn't solve. That doesn't really solve anything, though, to be honest. Besides, and maximize the value for any of our guys, I don't know. I think OG. Well, I guess he didn't maximize that value. Got a pretty good trade out of it. Let's be honest. Siakam, he didn't maximize it. I disagree with the comment that Pascal trade was the value we got was ass. It wasn't bad. That obviously it wasn't maximized. However, you get the 19th overall pick. You get a 2026 first round pick from Indiana. You get the 29th overall pick, which you turned into. So you got Abaji, Olynyk. You got the 19th overall pick, the 2026 first round pick. And if you get a first out of Bruce Brown, it'll be 3 picks plus Olynyk and Abaji. Not great, no, but I wouldn't say it was bad. What you have to consider that he was on an expiring contract. If we look at it through the lens of like, okay, he's an expiring contract. The team can't guarantee he'll stay. What can we get? That was pretty good. Now, when you consider the fact they had opportunities to trade him previously and didn't, yes, now we can say, well, in contrast, we could have gotten potentially, we did not maximize that asset. It's hard to maximize a guy's value. There was belief that this team was going to be good, which was a bad belief. The front office fucked up there. I think they're doing a decent job of digging themselves out of a hole. There's going to be some problems along the way, which we're noticing now. There's not a lot of cap space, but Raptors are digging themselves out of the hole they created for themselves for sure right now. For Caleb Martin, I don't think that'll be one the Raptors will be able to land. I mean, I would love it, but I don't think Caleb Martin is on the table for the Raptors. Jalen Smith would have been interesting. Probably a guy, it's tough to find the perfect fit for the backup center that the Raptors were looking for, but Jalen Smith probably would have been a pretty good option there. Not the perfect ideal guy that I've been kind of describing who can protect the rim. But yeah, I see that 3 years, $9 million per year contract he signed with the Bulls, and I get a little bit jealous, thinking I feel like that's one we could have landed. So it's becoming difficult to see, where this cap space is going to go. But granted, look, the last few trades Raps have made have been good. The Kings trade was great. Maybe there's something lined up for Bruce Brown that we're not aware of that we're going to be satisfied with. Maybe there isn't, but again, I don't think it's horrible situation to use Bruce Brown this season. I'd rather get some assets for him, but if a trade is just the trade market isn't there, which I think it should be, it's not horrific. Organization threatening that organizationally threatening that he plays this season. It's not that bad. They do need to do well with the 25 and 26 picks. They do, because Quickly makes a lot of money. Barnes is going to make a lot of money. Barrett's going to make a lot of money. Those rookie contracts got to come through and be effective for this team, which is why I wouldn't, like I said earlier in the stream, I wouldn't rule out the Raptors looking at that draft and thinking, we probably need to get a really good player this year out of that draft, give ourselves a better chance. Don't rule it out. DeMarcus Cousins at backup. I think he's retired. If he isn't, he should be. So I'll pass probably there. Damn, he's only 33. He also plays in Taiwan. I believe he is teammates with Dwight Howard. He plays for the Taiwan Mustangs. Dwight Howard plays for the Taiwan Mustangs. All right. Look at that. Teammates. I didn't know they were teammates until just now. That's kind of cool. Bruce Brown's worth 2 first-round picks. No, he's not. Hopefully he's worth 1. He's not worth 2. That's for sure. DeMarcus Cousins, in truth, had a candidacy to be the Raptors' Finals MVP when they won the chip. Conference Finals MVP was probably Eric Bledsoe. They had some help from those guys for sure. We look through at the possibilities of free agency, who the Raptors can get at this point. It's pretty bleak. I'm kind of out of ideas. Tristan Thompson would be interesting, but yeah, let's look at the guys available. LeBron. Who would be cool? I mean, they don't need a point guard. Kyle Lowry would just be fun. But what would be an actual positional need right now? Don't really need a backup point guard anymore. So a lot of these guys are out. Covington's kind of cooked. Rashawn Holmes is absolutely cooked. I also thought he signed with the Wizards, but apparently not. Remember when the Lakers wouldn't trade THT for Lowry? Well, they're both on this list now. Monty Morris, I think, signed today. Kyle Anderson would have been cool, but he just signed for the Warriors. I think that was a good pickup, by the way. Please not Isaac Okoro. He's an RFA. Taurean Prince wouldn't be awful as a wing. Don't know if you'd be able to sign him. Zeke Bay's injured, so I wouldn't waste there. Tristan Thompson, probably not horrible to be that center I've been talking about. Like I said, there's worse you can do than get Precious Achiuwa, but apparently he's actually getting some interest in the offseason. Now we're getting into the real nitty-gritty. Saric wouldn't be that bad either. He's not the backup big I'm looking for, but just add a bit of size. Other players with size. I mean, people are crying about Yuta Watanabe leaving. Nobody's really looking at him, I don't think, big time this summer. Yeah, there's just not a lot of options here. Jeez, Metu. That doesn't fix things. Bismack. I mean, there's worse you can do than bringing back Bismack. Third choice center, some rim protection. There's worse you can do there. Usman Garuba's a UFA. Wow, that's a bit surprising to me. I thought he had real potential when he got drafted. Yeah, it's not looking great. Let's be honest, not looking great. Not much they could do. They had very limited flexibility. Would have been even less flexibility if they had Schroeder on their team still. But yeah, there's just not much they can do. I don't know. I was hoping they'd kind of surprise me, but they weren't able to do it, man. Sheesh. Well, I'll tell you guys. The situation in Toronto is rather bleak from a free agent standpoint. They've pretty much done nothing with free agency. But I say they've pretty much done nothing because they did have one transaction so far in free agency at the time of recording here. So let's talk about that, at least. Again, I will say they've pretty much done nothing because they've done, truthfully, harshly, but truthfully, nothing of significant to help their team on court. This doesn't really change that. The one move the Raptors have made, the time recording on July 2nd, near 8 p.m. Eastern time, is they have signed Garrett Temple to a one-year deal to return to the Toronto Raptors. And a lot of people were very happy about this one. A lot of people were singing the praises of what Garrett Temple could bring to the team. And they're probably not wrong about that. There probably is some value Garrett Temple brings, especially from a locker room standpoint on the bench. You know, you always see when the Raptors are in a timeout or coming to the bench at the end of a quarter or at the end of a half, Garrett Temple's either one of the guys or the first guy up to high-five guys, to talk to guys, to help mentor guys. So I think it's a good player to have within your organization. He is, I believe he's the vice president of the NBA Players Association. So it's a good figure to have in your team. Now, as far as like what he actually brings to the table, I mean, it's off-court stuff. It's all about suits. Nice. Garrett Temple's got another cool suit. Does he bring anything to the table as or let's be real, let's be super on his point here and say, does he bring anything to the floor realistically? Like, not really. You know, in the tanking era with the Raptors last season, the tanking period, okay. He had some decent minutes. I'll give him that. He had to play like small ball center, and he did a decent job. He had some decent games there, but yeah, Garrett Temple is strictly like a veteran presence. How I've kind of treated Garrett Temple since they brought him in is that he's getting paid NBA player salary to be essentially a coach, kind of the way Udonis Haslem was with the Miami Heat for so long. Look, it's not a bad player to bring back to your team. It's clear that the players with the team like him and respect him. He might be an important figure for the coaching staff, but it just leaves a little bit to be desired when, you know, we are 2 full days into NBA free agency, and that is the only piece of business that the Raptors have done so far. Garrett Temple doesn't really offer you that much, all things considered, so we'll just have to see. Look, is that value of having it? I don't think, look, I think I'm being a little bit disrespectful in the sense that, look, there is value that Garrett Temple clearly brings to the team, and it was an interesting move to bring him back overall to the organization. And more of the frustration on my end is brewing from the fact that this is all that the Raptors have done. Like, is it bad move? Is it a bad move? No, it's not necessarily a bad move, but it's all that we've done. And this is all that we're going to do. I will be frustrated, and my frustration has no other direction to point than at this maneuver to bring in Garrett Temple. He's not getting any younger, but probably a nice player to have with the group. As I said, a nice player to have with the bench. The cap situation is just completely tricky for the Raptors. Question marks about Gary Trent, but the bigger questions will still come about Bruce Brown and what they're going to do as far as a trade is concerned. And until that trade is figured out with Bruce Brown, it feels like you wouldn't be able to expect much activity overall from the Raptors. But, you know, you're 2 days in here. As much as free agency was a dud this year at the start, a lot of the key guys that you maybe would have wanted to look for are already off the table. So, yeah. Hey, the one move you did was bring back Garrett Temple. Just kind of looking on a year-to-year basis. Like, what is Temple? What is Temple bringing? What did he bring last year in those limited minutes? Yeah, he's old. So he played 27 games. He started 2, which is still insane. 3.3 points, 37% shooting from the field, 30% shooting from 3. Yeah, it's obvious that Temple has not been signed for what he can bring to the team from an on-court perspective. That's abundantly clear. So, what are the moves the Raptors can make? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. That one, that one just doesn't really doesn't move me. But people are high on it. They're higher than I am on it. Respect dunk, I guess. What about the idea of swapping Ben Simmons for Brown, Boucher, to Baji? Before I knock it, what do I do after I'm done the before? Ben Simmons is never healthy, and he's bad at basketball. Bruce Brown can be traded for an asset. Boucher, I pray, can. Abaji is good at basketball, and will if a layup is presented to Ochai Abaji, I have confidence that he will take it and he won't pass to somebody else. And Ochai Abaji doesn't make $40 million. I am immediately going to shut down the idea of Ben Simmons coming to the team. He's not that player anymore. He probably never will be. Are we finally in the last year of that contract? We are. $40 million last year of Ben Simmons' contract. Yeah. Can't do that. Like, I guess you make yourself a bit of a cap space team next year, but you don't because like Scotty Barnes' extension kicks in. So, yeah, I can't be doing that. Brown can still fetch something. Why hasn't he dealt yet? They're looking for a good trade. They're sniffing it out. Look, business lately from Masai Ujiri has been good. The trades have been good. Some of them have been great. Some of them have been outstanding. So I'm not gonna knock. The Raptors having not traded him. I will knock the inactivity in free agency because even without the trade, they still have some space to make a move, and they haven't made a move. Bruce Brown has 0 work. All he does make. I think we're talking about different players. By the way, does Bruce Brown have a TikTok account, Kobe? Does Bruce Brown have a TikTok account? All he does is make TikToks. I don't think he has a TikTok account. So that's a weird comment. All he does is make TikToks. So first of all, Bruce Brown is a very hardworking player. Second of all, it does not appear he has a TikTok account. So he's lazy and only makes TikToks. 2 inaccurate statements in 1. Ben Simmons is going to play with Dwight and DeMarcus next year. It's a shame it's kind of gone this way, man. But he's got no confidence on the court. He's got no confidence. Bring back Serge Ibaka. He's not an NBA player anymore. You know, we can't just say these guys who are no longer in the league and think that's going to solve the center problem. He currently plays for Bayern Munich in the German basketball Bundesliga. Yeah, that's not the answer here. It's like saying like Marc Gasol. Like these are names. Awesome. 2015. Awesome. I would love one of these guys. It's 2024 though. Who are we getting for Bruce Brown player-wise? I don't know. Probably salary dumps. I just hope we get a first out of it or a player that can help the team. But we're moving around. You meant Ben Simmons. Does Ben Simmons have a TikTok account? What does Ben Simmons have to do with Bruce Brown? Ben Simmons is ass. I would big LJR. Chuma Okeke is a player I would consider looking at. Yes, that is definitely a player I'd be like, okay, cheap contract. That's something that might work. When's the last time Ben Simmons made a TikTok? That was in 2022. This was in. I don't think Ben Simmons uploaded a TikTok for over 2 years. So even if it was Ben Simmons to talk about, unless this was a fake account. All right, let's see. Here's a okay, 2.9 million likes. Is this Ben Simmons? Oh, okay, maybe this is Ben Simmons. Doesn't do TikToks that often though. I don't agree. Anyways, enough about fucking TikTok. Chuma Okeke would be somewhat of an interesting flyer. Like, you've got cap space. You may as well sign somebody. So, a power forward. Why not? What would a marketing package look like? All right. Just let's entertain what it would look like. Let's just entertain what it would have to look like. Well, like financially, you can do it. Bruce Brown, right? They would probably want. So marketing makes $18 million. It's absolutely sickening how little money he makes. So 1 year of marketing, by the way, you get from this. He's on an expiring contract. You have to remember. He makes $18 million. So you can trade Bruce Brown. There's your easy move. Now let's just see if financially you can do that. Okay. So picks. At least 3, right? At least 3. So let's say you trade the 2025 pick. Let's say you trade the 2027 pick. The 2029 pick. Let's say you trade a swap for 2026. How we do a swap? That's round 2. Protect. More favor, less. I don't know how this works. Okay, let's imagine I put in a pick swap there as well. Probably something else. I don't have anything else. You want Jonte Porter? Yeah. Let's say this. This is like I don't even know they would take this. This is like the minimum required. 3 picks and Bruce Brown. It just seems dumb for the Raptors to do that. That trading away the assets to make that happen, it's not really gonna happen. Do I know Grayson Allen's contract? It's like $80 million he got. They're asking for a lot of picks. Grayson Allen got $70 million. That's a good contract. 4 years, that's a great contract for the Phoenix Suns. They ain't trading that. That's a very, very key asset. Realistically, Masai is going to target former lottery picks that haven't panned out. This is a fun one. The Sandy V says Masai likes to target former lottery picks in spots like this. You're not wrong. He does like to do that. This is fun. Let's go through and find the former lottery pick he might like to get. Killian Hayes actually wouldn't be. I would be opposed to it, but that's not like a crazy one from a side to look at and say give him a chance. Other than that, this was a good draft class, huh? Not a lot of duds in the top piece of the part of the draft, and one of the duds was already a Raptor. We had Kyra Lewis for a little bit. All right, let's go to the 2021 draft. These guys wouldn't be free agents though. 2021 NBA draft. This was a loaded draft as well. Here we go. We got this guy. We have this guy. Zaire Williams might be one of those we look at. Not Josh Primo, please. Not, but Book Knight's ass. Yeah, I guess not really. We don't really have those options this time. Yeah, you had the Wiseman one. Wiseman, I'm very happy we avoided. I said we need a rim protector. What would be the opposite of protector? What is the antonym? Protector antonym word. What is the opposite of protector? That's what he is. Protector. Nope, I don't know. Whatever the opposite, turnstile, sure. He is the rim turnstile. Would you like to score? Okay, there's the basket, buddy. Yeah, pylon, turnstile. He can't play defense. Exposer. Yeah, these are all great. That's floor arbitrator. That's James Wiseman. So, yeah, unfortunately, that wouldn't have worked out for us. But I'm going to reiterate that, I'm going to reiterate that the Raptors really need a backup center. And it looks like they're probably not going to get it here. It's sad. When we trade Bruce Brown, I don't know. It could be in 1 minute. Like, if Woj tweeted right now, the Raptors trade Bruce Brown, I'd be like, all right, there we go. We did it. If the Raptors did it in 5 months, that would equally be, that'd be a little bit more surprising. But they could do it next month, and I wouldn't be surprised, right? Like, it's they're going to try and get a good deal. They're going to see what's out there. Teams are figuring out their cap space, but I think the Raptors are going to be able to figure this out. Is Closer done forever? I don't know. Now that's the perfect guy for the role I'm describing. Christian Koloko is the perfect guy for that if he can come back. He made some comments previously about his health. He wants to come back. I hope he can come back. That'd be great. Is Bruce too overpaid to be an asset in the new CBA era? But because he's expiring, probably not. But teams have to worry about that for sure. Can we trade David Mitchell? We could, but don't, because he's good and we need a backup point guard. I have to keep him. Raptors still keeping tabs on former draft pick Koloko. Okay, well at least they're still looking at him. I'm sure they communicated we have no choice but to waive you. We'd love to have you on the team. Hopefully he comes back. Hopefully, man. We could use a player like that. Absolutely. All right, well. I guess we're pretty much done here, guys. Anything else we got? Will we trade Pearl? No. I'm talking about we need a backup center who can protect the rim. We definitely need a starting center who can protect the rim as well. And he's that. We need to help improve the team. We need rim protectors who make it easier on the guys on the floor we're trying to worry about developing. So Pirtle, 28 years old, by the way. He's not ancient here. He's 3-4 years older than Emmanuel Quickly. He's not an ancient man here. So I think keeping a hold of him is still the best way forward for this team. If you guys have enjoyed the stream, please make sure you do smash that like button. Really appreciate y'all hanging out here with me today. If you want to see more Raptors content, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. We're only at 32 likes. We have 122 people here. Let's get to 50 likes before we close things out here. If everybody who watched the stream, half the people who watched the stream, hit the like button, we'd have 60 likes. So please hit the like button. Tomorrow, I'm looking to make a video kind of recapping what we've seen from free agency so far as well. Condense a lot of what I've said from this stream into that. Hopefully something happens. I can talk about that in the video tomorrow. Also, tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be live in the Bleach Report app discussing league-wide free agent news, which should be interesting as well. If you're interested in more than just Raptors stuff from myself, check out my Bleach Report page. Download the app. Follow me at Jacob_Gramegna so you know when I am going live over there. I'll answer these final questions before we head out. What improvements do you need to see from Darko before being fully convinced he's our coach long term? Great question. Another good one. The Sandy V. That's two great ones. Michael Berlin, we're about to end stream. Sorry, buddy. But thank you for coming through. What does Darko need to do? Okay. I need to see, first of all, some idea, some semblance of improvement on defense. We just cannot be outright horrific there. Something needs to improve defensively. We can't just be a complete black hole on that end of the floor. We have to be able to get stops in some capacity, whether that's him doing it or whether that's delegating to another coach to be able to do. Please, for defense, what does Darko specifically need to achieve for me to have confidence? His ability to adapt on the fly absolutely needs to improve. Adjustments don't happen quick enough. and they need to happen. Sometimes they don't happen, period. Like, I think sometimes there's like, sometimes when he makes an adjustment, it's like he made it halfway through the game, but it's like, I could have told you that the thing you were adjusting for would have happened pregame. How do you not know that's going to happen pregame? And then you adjust midway through the game. It's like, that was obvious. Like, thank you for adjusting, but also that you should have done that pregame, and that was obvious. So adjustments, defense, and playing players to their strengths, like particularly Scotty Barnes, using him to your greatest benefit defensively as a help defense four. That's Scotty Barnes at his best. On offense, more of an interior presence to get the more higher percentage looks. Just I need to be convinced he's got that idea of how to maximize this team. And I just very little evidence last season of him being able to do that. Where there were improvements, obviously the half-court ball movement improved, but I need to see those adjustments. I need to see defensive improvement, and I need to have confidence in him that he knows how to get the most out of his players. That's a good question, though. What about the original Lively Cauley-Stein? Is Willie Cauley-Stein in the NBA anymore? Probably not. Let's see. Willie Cauley-Stein. He plays for the Open Job Metis Veres. Holy shit. Open Job Metis Veres of Liga Basket Serie A. Is that Italy? Open Job. Oh, that's probably the sponsor. Yeah. Varese. That's what it is. CEO is Luis Scola. How about that? So they do play in Italy. So Open Job Metis is probably like a sponsor. Whatever that, how do you pronounce that? So no, not Willie Cauley-Stein doesn't fix things here. I believe Darko played Vezenkov steady minutes. I think so too, and I think you can get more out of him. But all right, that will do it for today's stream. 8 o'clock. I haven't had dinner yet. I'm starving. I'm going to go eat. Tomorrow, before you go, like the stream, subscribe for more Raptors content. Check out tomorrow. I'm going to post a video, hopefully 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, doing some more coverage on what's not been going on for the Raptors in free agency so far. And 12 p.m. Eastern time, live on the Bleach Report app, I'm going to be talking about free agency as a whole around the NBA. You don't want to miss out on the content I have. Follow me on Twitter, @Jacob_Gramegna, so you're notified of when I am doing content, where I do content in a lot of places, whether it's here, whether it be my other amateur channels, whether it be The Board, whether it be The Hammer, whether it be Bleach Report. I do a lot, so I'd be very appreciative if you supported my work, especially at Bleach Report, because if you support me there, I get to do more stuff with Bleach Report, which is great for me, I think, in growing the brand and growing my presence, which will allow me to be more involved here long term. So any support is greatly appreciated. But bare minimum, if you watch stuff, I really appreciate it. But hey, if you're here, you could hit the like button. All right, guys, enjoy the middle part of enjoy the rest of your week. Live stream wise, I'm very, very, very busy this week. So this will be the last live stream of the week. I'll be back next Tuesday, July 9th, unless something crazy goes down and maybe I do live stream, but probably not. It'll probably be a video if anything comes out. No more live streams until